Hey everyone, and I guess Happy New Year, since this is my first video of the new year, but it's not really the new year anymore. We're almost all the way through January. It's kind of the new year for me because I just now am starting my new year because I got pneumonia at the end of last year. And I've been going pretty slow here for the first couple of weeks, but I think I've recovered. I have a voice now, so I can make some videos and tell you about some cool stuff that we have for the 3 series. We've had just for a little bit, but couldn't talk, so I couldn't tell you about it. Now, this video is going to be a little bit of a commercial. I'll just say that up front. Not that I'm going to try to sell you on anything, but I do need to spend some time talking about how you can buy what we have available at the moment and what it's going to be like in over the next 2 or 3 months. Now, if you're familiar with HydrosPlus, you kind of know our approach really is come up with a product, find the need, build the product, prototype it, test it, and then we'll do an initial launch. Now, all of the initial launches typically are on sale, and that is the only time we run a sale. So if you're thinking about buying something from HydrosPlus, don't think in terms of Memorial Day or President's Day sale or Black Friday. We don't do any of that. And the reason, nothing wrong with that, but we're not trying to dupe people into buying stuff and trying to bamboozle people. If you came now, you got a better price than you came later, etc. All of the things you buy from HydrosPlus, if you buy them today, that will be the cheapest you can buy it until we go into some deflationary period at some point in the future that's never happened. If you buy it today, nobody will buy it cheaper than you bought it. And on that topic, this is kind of buried in this video, but realistically, prices probably are about to start going up. I've been able to hold prices very stable through COVID. Most of that has to do with improvements I've made and other things where I can save money here and there and kind of offset any need to increase prices, but that can't go on forever. And we've kind of whittled out all the efficiencies, and not talking about these products, but for some of the other products. So if you happen to be watching this, just know that it's in January of 2025. Now, that said, what we're going to talk about today are 2 products that are ready to go. If you're watching this video, you can go buy these 2 products, and here's the commercial part. You have to buy them together. Now, there's some benefits to buying them together, and that's not how I usually do things. I usually make things available for you to buy however you would like to buy them, whatever fits your needs. But the nature of these products, which is the lift cylinders, which is what we're talking about, as well as a new larger stage 1 hydraulic pump, because I have limited quantities of both, I want to make sure that the people who buy them first get the opportunity to buy both the cylinders and the pump. So if I made them available separately, it might have a situation where everybody came in and bought the cylinders. And, you're going to learn about these at different times. So this video will launch, but you might not, it may be February before you see it. Maybe we still have stock, but if I make them available like all of the other items I have, then maybe all the cylinders are gone. So you wanted cylinders and a pump. So I want to make sure that people who want the full package, and that's not, some people like to step into it, some people like to go get it all at once, whatever, fits you, makes sense, but I don't want there not to be, I want people who are eating turkey to get some dressing and not just be stuck with turkey only, I guess. That's kind of what it is. The benefit of that is if you buy now, you will get a better price than, just as I said, as anybody, and it will be the only chance to buy it at this reduced price. And I'm not going to say the price on here because that can change and will change over time. And if somebody watches this a year later, because I kind of leave everything up, then they're going to ask me about this and it will no longer be applicable. But the price for the cylinders and the pump will be as low as they'll ever be. And while we don't have tilt cylinders yet, I'll give you an update on that here shortly, when the tilt cylinders come, you will get an additional discount over what anybody else will be able to get because you bought the pump and the cylinders at launch. I try to incentivize my early adopters. You guys are the ones who help make sure that we can continue to get more exciting products, whether it's for your tractor or for some other tractor. The early adopters are so core and key to the success of HydrosPlus, and I want to try to give as much benefit to them as I possibly can. Now, last thing I'll say about this, and then we'll get into what it is and how it works and all those things. If this is February, March, April, and not the full production runs are here where you can buy them separately, if you go ahead and give me your money now, that's up to you. But if you go ahead and order it, and it's on back order, we'll charge you immediately because the platform I use does not allow this charge when you ship. But if you do that, you will get that same deal. So that's the benefit. So ideally, everybody who knows they're gonna get this, run quickly to hydrosplus.com, go find this package. It'll be one of the first one and the newest items. And then you'll actually get your products and we'll ship them here within the next few days. If those are already gone, you can still spend your money, and as soon as they're available, we'll ship them out to you. And of course, you'll still get the discount for the tilt cylinders when they're available, all the same benefits, it's just that you won't get them immediately. So that's the commercial part. Now let's talk about what did we end up with. This cylinder here, lift cylinder, of course we sell these in pairs because they're different size than the standard ones, you can't just buy one. But what we ended up doing, and if you go, actually I should mention, there's a primer video to this that talks about the challenges with this, what we were doing here, some other things associated with the cab model, and some other general things about engine horsepower, etc. But within that video, we talked about what did we have to do with this cylinder to make it work? Well, one, this cylinder is wider than basically this, and there's two flanges here. So it cannot no longer kind of go in. I'll use this as an example. You can kind of go inside of there. Can't do that, it's too wide. You can see that we've narrowed this down, and we have to extend it so that it doesn't hit here. So we've done that, which means anything we take from or add to this side, we have to take from this side to make sure that our range of motion stays the same. And so we took from this side, but because this here and this here can have some interference, we were limited to the outer diameter of this to be 2.75, which is quite a bit larger than this. This is 2.3 roughly. At 2.75, we can maintain our 3,500 PSI rating for the cylinder. I think these are probably rated for 3,000, so I like to stay at 3,500 just in case. And that's working pressure, don't worry about. You're definitely gonna see higher than 3,500 PSI at times on these cylinders whenever you're using it under a load, but that is the all day, everyday pressure it can do. There are some safety factors and shock, that you can actually impart upon this cylinder that will push it up to 5, 6, 7, 8,000 pounds. As long as that is momentary and is not sustained and not, done every day, then that is within the design limits of hydraulic cylinders. But generally speaking, these cylinder walls that can handle 3,500 PSI, everything else is 3,500 PSI or more. So that's where I like to stay on the cylinder. So it has to maintain a certain wall thickness. As it gets bigger, the thicker the wall has to be. So we're at 2.75 on the outer diameter, which only matters because it fits here. This is like a 2.8, so it's very narrow, but it does fit. But the inner diameter, we were only able to go up 3/8 of an inch. I wanted to go up 1/2 inch, which would be more probably than you'd ever want to lift with this tractor. But I do have some reasons for that, but we weren't able to do it, so it doesn't matter. 2 3/8 on the inner diameter is going to give us around 40% increase in lift capacity for these cylinders here. On the front, we expect to go to the same size as that, so we'll have the same ratio as we have today if you had the stock cylinders in both. Now, if you watch the other video, I'll comment it later when we go do our lift capacity test with the stock cylinders. I think it was 2275, we got it wide open throttle. This should push us over the 3,000 pound mark for the same, 2 foot in front, 2 foot up in the air kind of test we typically do here at HydrosPlus. So that's kind of the details on the cylinder. I think it'll be Most people are going to be very happy with it. Most people who have this tractor can lift almost everything they want, but there's always a few things like wet hay bales or pallets of wood that, while they might be able to get it off the ground, they want to put it in the back of a pickup. That's what this is really going to enable, as well as lots of other things that you might want to do, but keep in mind, just because you can doesn't mean you should. All right, that's it for the cylinder. The pump. Now, I have my prototype on, which is identical to the production model, so mine is black, but yours will be green. And I'm not going to take the sides off, but one thing, I'll just kind of talk about it at a high level, and we will have an installation video. The installation is not something I'm going to have to give details on. For most people, you would just be able to change it, but I'm going to give you the details of like how much stuff should you really take off, because I'm always the person that tries to take off as little as possible, but of course that means that I always take off not enough stuff, and if I'd have taken off just one or two other things, it would have been a lot faster. I've done this 10 or 15 times at this point, so I kind of know what to take off, I know what to watch for, and I'll give you those details, but this is a very straightforward replacement. This would be like replacing an alternator on your car that's on the top and not, through the wheel well. Like, it is a little bit tough, you got to take things off, but ultimately it's pretty straightforward, just some hand tools. You do need some sizable hand tools, like a 1 1/4 inch wrench for that nut there. But anyway, we'll get into that a little bit later. And if you're looking at this thinking, hey, mine's got some other stuff, it's because I don't put everything back on while I'm in the prototyping stage, because I just have to take it back off. So some of this will look incomplete, but when I do the install video, we'll get everything back to stock, and then I'll show you what you should expect. All right. Well, last thing I'll say, this pump is larger by about 1 inch. That is going to make things a little bit crowded, but for this stage 1 pump, you're going to be able to use all of your stock hoses, lines, no major changes, or rerouting of anything for that matter. Same thing goes for the hoses on these, on the cylinders. You get to use your stock hoses, has the same end. So this is all at this stage, so stage 1 and these cylinders, which these will be the largest cylinders that we do for this tractor because of this limitation here. But all of this is plug and play. No extra parts or anything that you have to get, new hoses, etc. Just straight parts replacement. So those are the 2 items. And like I said, you'll have to buy them together. If you choose to buy them together on a back order, or you could argue that's a pre-order. I thought about making a pre-order, but that's just semantics. I mean, the reality is you're giving me your money now. You can have your money back at any time if you change your mind. But if you want the better deal, that's the option that you have. Okay, last thing I'll say before we talk, well, let me get ahead of myself. That pump, stage 1, and I think we'll only have a stage 2. We'll have a stage 1 for this and then a stage 2. There won't be anything beyond that because I know where I'm going on it. But the stage 1 pump's gonna be around 14 gallons a minute. So this tractor from the factory is about 9 gallons a minute with your stock pump, and you'll be able to get up to 14 gallons a minute at wide open throttle if you go with the HydrosPlus pump. Now, here's another benefit that is gonna be, there's an asterisk, right? The 4 Series tractors, these cylinders, I haven't confirmed, but I don't think that they're gonna work on it. I need to do some additional measuring. The local John Deere dealers I have here does not have any 4Rs. They've got some 4Ms, but I haven't finalized the measurements and things on that yet. But you won't be able to get the cylinders at this point because I haven't confirmed that, and that means that you can't get the pump because the pump does fit the 4R tractor. Now the 4R tractor already has a larger hydraulic pump than the 3R, but it is somewhere around 11 gallons a minute. So you'll go from 11 to 14 if you go with the stage 1 on your 4R machine, but you won't be able to buy that until later in the spring because I'm only gonna sell those in the package deal with the cylinders and the pump at this point. Now, I will take that back if I do measurements on the 4R cylinders and they end up being exactly the same as these, but according to the John Deere website, they are not exactly the same cylinders, so there may be minor trade-offs, or if they're major trade-offs, then they're not gonna work at all. Those with a 3X20 tractor or something similar to that, what starts with a 3 and it's an older tractor, those tractors will, the pump will not work on those tractors, but I am working on a solution for that. And the solution may be a completely separate pump, but more likely it's going to be some plumbing changes that will allow this pump to work on your tractor without any trade-offs. Okay, before we get into the lift test and the hydraulic test, last thing I want to mention, these cylinders are made for the 320R loader, right? This is the loader that has the higher lift capacity and the higher lift height. Now, as far as the capacity, I think it's actually pretty close to the same, but definitely quite a bit more lift height. I think almost a foot more. I can't remember exactly, but it's more. And my research so far, well, before I tell you that, a 320R is equivalent to an H165 loader, and there may be one before that that's equivalent to. The 300R loader, which often doesn't even have the number up here, it just is on this tractor, I guess, is equivalent to the H160 loader. Here's what my research has yielded with feedback from others that have the 300R loader, which is not that common. My dealerships do not keep 3R tractors on the lot, so I can't just go see one, but I have seen them in the past. Here's the difference. Notice all of this part of the loader, all the way down to probably even here and maybe all the way to the end, is identical. It's the same. The cylinder's not the same here or here, but everything else is the same. Exception is this linkage. Now, what does this linkage do? This linkage allows for this pivot point to go below this line here, right? So it can actually go below here and it actually lets it dump further. That's what you can do with this linkage. And because you have this linkage, which is what John Deere charges you a premium for to get the 320R loader, because you have this linkage, you can actually lift higher and dump effectively. On the 300R loader, what you see is they take off this linkage and they connect the cylinder directly to the bucket, just the way you would see on a 1 series or a 2 series. And you'll see that they have a shorter cylinder here. Now, I've done measurements, talked to people who have this loader. Here's my hypothesis, and it's about to be confirmed, but as of this video, it's not quite confirmed. Look on the website to see that confirmation, but I'm 99.999% sure that this is the case. Because that linkage is absent on the 300R loader and it cannot dump as far, they have shortened this, and that's why it can't lift as high. But ultimately, this cylinder is going to fit on the 300R loader. You, yes, will get more lift height, which is what most people will want. But of course, at the top of your lift height, you're not going to be able to dump quite as much as you could if you had this linkage. Most people, that's not going to be a problem. If you're using forks, a hay spear, anything like that, doesn't matter. So, as of this moment, not 100% confirmed, but if you have a 300R loader, you can buy this pump and these cylinders and everything. You'll get better performance and user experience, but you will have the trade-off of the fact that at the very top, you can't dump 100% complete, but that didn't matter because you couldn't lift that high before anyway, so I don't think anybody's going to have a problem with that. But if you do have a problem with that, you want to wait until a little bit later and we'll get some confirmations. But like I said at the first of this video, all this stuff is available today on the website. You have to buy them in the cylinders and the pump together. You will be able to buy it on back order and get the same deal, which is going to have a lower price for those two than you'll be able to get once it comes back in stock, as well as when the tilt cylinders come, you will get a better deal for that than anybody will be able to get. Okay, that's enough for what it is. I think you understand it. I've got a lot more stuff to tell you, but I'm not going to put it in this video. I'm going to jump to the hydraulic flow test just to show you kind of where you stand. and then we'll go over to the lift test. All right, we got the tractor started here. We've got it at about 900 RPMs is what this idles at. And we'll go back here, show you at 900 RPMs, we're gonna be about 5 and 3 quarters gallons per minute, and that's just at idle. For me, what I tend to run this tractor at is about 1500 RPMs, and then I'll have my auto throttle on. But the importance of 1500 RPMs, you see, is that that's kind of how your loader is going to operate with when you pull into the pile and you're about to back up, because you've let off the hydrostatic and auto throttle is no longer giving it throttle, so you're going to be at this range here. And as you can see, about 8 3/4, somewhere in that range, almost 9. And then, of course, if you want to go to wide open throttle, most people don't run this way, but if you run a PTO, 2700 RPMs. 14 1/4. Jumping a little bit. Yeah, 14 1/4. Might have saw it 14 and a half. But that's it. So I have this held up vertically because there is a little bit of movement. Come on. This whole contraption was for other, this is not all that I tested, pressure and total volume, et cetera, et cetera. That's why you see this other things here. But, and it's, you know, this is all put in hoses. This is the actual hard line that goes into it. But I have it vertically, well, that's the wrong way vertically, because there's a little bit of movement in this, the tag here. So you could, you know, probably 1/4 of a gallon if you had it the other way, it could be off potentially. So I always keep it vertical like that. So let me get ready for the lift test, and let me show you kind of just how smooth things are, even with this janky cable operated loader joystick. Well, my windshield's pretty dirty, but I thought I would kind of give you we're gonna go over here to the other side, but I thought I would just kind of show you, you know, 15, or this is basically a wide open throttle with these cylinders. So I'm at 15 gallons per minute. You can do 2 functions at once effectively, I would say. Now this joystick, honestly, is just atrocious, but one of the things that does happen, as you can see the joystick here, is because you have more flow, this joystick, I can't actually put it into regen because there's not enough throw in the joystick based on the cable travel. So it actually, I mean, of course the guy selling you something's gonna try to say this, but like, it works a whole lot easier because you don't have to open it as much, because on this joystick there's just so much there's only so much you can do. So I don't know if that's coming through in the video here, but you know, as far as 2 functions at once, it gets a whole lot easier if you have more flow. I don't think I have anything to pick up. I was plowing snow, that's why the tractor's so dirty. You can kind of see, I mean, I feel like this to me feels like, and so I got the auto throttle going. That helps a little bit, having the additional RPMs. But when I was plowing snow with it, it just really felt nice that I could actually run it and, you know, pick up the snow, move it around. You know, auto throttle is going to get you up closer to maybe 2,000 RPMs, and at 2,000 RPMs, this baby cooks. I like it a lot. Can't wait to get my CAN bus electronic joystick in this thing. It's coming soon, I promise. But that's kind of it in a nutshell. Like I said, this feels like if you've ever driven a proper backhoe, that's kind of what this feels like. They're bigger, but they have plenty of flow on those machines. So, all right, let me get over set up for the test, and we'll see how it goes. All right, I just checked the other video, and 2162 at idle, 2272 at wide open throttle. So here's my rear ballast, should be sufficient. And well, it's sunny, beautiful day today. Get under my own shadow. We got it set to peak, tare to 0. Tractor's already warmed up. Let's see what we got. So we're at idle. Pulling down pretty good. About 2,300 PSI. So even though we got the additional flow on this one, I think the pressure relief valve is enough that it can handle it. So we don't get that increase. 3154, remember that number. Wide open. We did get about 100 PSI more than the previous one. It was 2,500. 3430. 3430. Yep, bucket looks like it's hurting. Let's let her down. Yep, all right. Well, that is a good result. So it's more, to do the math, I'll do it on the screen and tell you, but I think that's more than 40, it's like 42% maybe, I don't know. More than most people really would probably want to pick up necessarily, but if you need to or in a pinch, you have that option. All right, I think that's it for this one. I was gonna wrap it up over after the lift test, but it was getting hot because the sun is out today, which is unusual. It's not that warm, it's in the probably low 50s, but anyhow, I thought I'd come over here and kind of finish it up. Like I said before, you can get the lift cylinders and the pump combination for the 3 Series. Right now, the best price you'll ever get for those 2, and on top of that, when the tilt cylinders come, you want to get an additional coupon code for a special deal for the tilt cylinders. It'll be cheapest you could buy this whole package. As long as you buy that, whether it's in stock or not, you can buy it on back order, that's fine. You will get them as soon as they come in, and you will get the same deal. As soon as the next shipment comes in here in early spring, then that deal will be off, never to be seen again, and we'll start offering these more separately. So the 4 Series owners or anybody else that wants to get just a pump or some other things, you'll have that option, but it's going to be later this year. That's it for this one. Questions, comments, leave them below, and thanks for watching.